simple. You got one. Two is known as a winning streak. Can Notre Dame put it all together, improve off what they did enough of, well, to win, and put another one in the win column, stabilize things, build some momentum, and try and save a respectable season? That is the theme of North Carolina week, except I got to let you guys know, I'm just telling you all the truth. There's some things about this North Carolina situation that are going to make me mad, and then I'm going to yell about them, and they're probably going to make you mad. And some of you, if you've looked into North Carolina, you already have an idea where I'm going. If you are a Notre Dame fan who's looked into North Carolina's team, you should know right away where I'm going with some of this anger this week. All right? So we're going to get into it. But that's the theme this week, folks. You got one. Can you do enough to build off that? Or are we going right back to where we started and it's just going to be a rough go the whole time? So thank you for being here. See some of the regulars. Jaded Clay, of course, Kent's here. He says he's trying to be civilized. Kent, are you tired? Are you hungover? All this civilized talk? I appreciate you being here as always. V1 Rotate V2. Yo, you're always in here. Mikey Poles. Matt Miller's in here. Richard, good to see you. I like that mustache Richard has. I'll tell you that right now. Chris, good morning here. Chris says he's here. I could go ahead and start the show. We're going to go ahead. Ooh. Jerry Wilson early in the line here. Notre Dame 17, UNC 41. Al Golden gets exposed. Ooh. Now, here's the issue, though. Jerry Wilson also predicted the accurate outcome of the Marshall game. So if you're sitting there and you see Jerry and you go, oh, I don't know about that, Jerry, that seems extreme. I said that about his Marshall prediction, and it came true. So who in the heck am I to judge Jerry's thought here in his prediction? So obviously, if you're here, you know you can find the show on YouTube. Everybody in the chat, I'm sure you've subscribed already. If you haven't, please do. I would appreciate that. Give the video a thumbs up. Helps in the search algorithm. Notifications on so you don't miss anything. Twitter, search bar, Always Irish Rat. Always Irish emails, alwaysirishnd@gmail.com. Call in line 312-900-8815. The lines are up. And I just want to know, folks, do you think Notre Dame can pull it together and pile wins? Do you? That is the big question I don't have an answer to, and I don't think anybody else has an answer to. You just don't know what you're going to get from Notre Dame. The way we're operating, you have no idea what you're going to get. You have no idea what you're going to get. Chris says he was sent over here by Lou. Yeah, Lou likes to jump in here sometimes in the morning. And Lou will jump in the chat and start putting things he knows are going to make me mad on purpose just to see if he could do it enough that it triggers me. He'll just drop little one-liners about Notre Dame and Rudy and all kinds of stuff just to see if I get upset. Matt Miller, do we go another week without producing a defensive turnover? Hey, they got a lot closer last week. We got a lot closer last week. We thought we had a couple. Here's what I'm sick of having to do every single Notre Dame game. I am really drunk Vigo. That's a very good point. ND is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And they're like the ones my grandma had where they've been in the cabinet for like a year and then you pull them out on Christmas and walk them around, you know? So I don't know. It's rough. But you just don't know what you're going to get week to week. And I just think that's going to be Notre Dame football this year. And it's very, very tough. You don't know what you can rely on. You don't know what you can build on. You don't know what's going to show up week to week. It's just a little rough. ND hasn't won a major bowl forever. Thanks for joining me this morning and reminding me of that, Chris. I'm very well aware of that, and it's the bane of my existence. But I appreciate you reminding me first thing in the morning. Oh, Brian NY. I have twins at OSU and a daughter at ND. Brian, that is fantastic. That's just a lot of tuition, my man. Brian, geez. Man, I hope your kids appreciate it. Richard with the fantastic hairline and mustache. I live in Winston-Salem, taking my son to Chapel Hill, first Notre Dame game. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I love it. Represent. The only problem is it's not a home game, so you're going to be outnumbered. So find the other Irish. You got to support each other while you're there. This year is going to be a little rough. Took Marcus 4 games to win. I mean, it's true. It's true. I don't like it, but it's a fact. It's a fact. It took too long. And that's another reason I told you guys, we got a couple phone calls up on the line. 818, Rodney, you're coming up in a minute. Phone lines are up, folks. 312-900-8815. Topic of the day, very simply, is I want to know if you think Notre Dame can build a winning streak. Are you asking for too much? If you're a Notre Dame fan and you're expecting to see an increase in good play this week, more consistency, a better start. I know this is wild, but what about you get a first down in the first quarter this week? Like, I'm trying to say that joking and not get mad, but why don't we try getting a first down in the first quarter? I know it's hard. You're going to be on the road. You couldn't do it at home last week. Get a first down in the first quarter. This isn't even real life. This isn't even real life. It isn't. I can't believe that's a complaint I had to yell about last week, was that you didn't get a first down at home against Cal in the first quarter. Give me a break. Not real life. Get it together. Here's the thing, though, folks. North Carolina scores a lot. They also give up a lot of scores. If you can't run the ball on these guys, you'll never be able to run the ball. App State, North Carolina gave up 288 rushing yards. 288. Georgia State, 235. 235. You got to be kidding me. Like, if you can't power run the ball against a team that's been giving up 300 yards to App State and 235 to Georgia State, what are we doing? Beyond frustrating. So it's a weird game this week. They give up a ton and they score a ton. Something's got to give. Something's got to give. V1 Rotate V2, $9.99 super chat. God, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. The only thing that came out of ND losing to Marshall was I discovered this show. Finally, a good show I can listen to while I work. Listen, V1 Rotate V2. I really appreciate your listenership and you wanting to be here. And I really appreciate the fact that you donate every week. At the same time, I regret immensely that that's how you found the show, was that we lost to Marshall and it must have popped up me yelling about it. I'm happy to have you and I appreciate you very much. I want to be friends. I just wish this wasn't how we met. Oh, man. See, here's the issue. ND 23, UNC 35. I just feel like Notre Dame's going to have to score points. And I feel like North Carolina's, they're going to score some. Like, it's not like Cal or something where you figure they're not going to do it at all. They've been scoring all year. What did they score? 63 against App State. Where was it? I had their games up here. 63 against App State, 56 against Tamu, or is it FAMU? Shamu's brother, FAMU? Is that Florida A&M Central something? 56 points, 63 points, 35 points. That's the other thing. How do you judge North Carolina's competition? I'm having trouble with that too. Like, you know, App State's got that upset in them and they always rise up when they play a bigger team. Like, to expect that out of App State just because it's been their history. But how do you judge how good they are and their competition is versus Notre Dame, like Florida A&M University? There you go, Jaded Clay. Thank you. That's what I don't know. How do you judge that? I don't think they're playing good competition. They might also look at Notre Dame and say, we're not playing good competition this week. Like, you can't tell me Notre Dame doesn't have more talent and size and athletes than the teams they've been playing, and they're giving up points against them. Rocky Ziegler, I know you from Twitter. It's good to see you here. I don't think I've seen you in this chat before. Thanks for being here, Rocky. What's the deal with Rocco Spindler and Blake Fisher? One's third string and the other one seems pretty bad. Here's the deal, folks. I don't know what the deal is with Spindler. It just seems like they don't have confidence in him. And it seems like a guy we all wanted to be a lot better than where he's at right now. And then when things aren't good, you want to see the next guy in, and then they're saying he's not ready. That's the deal with Rocco, I guess. Disappointing. A lot of people were very, very high on him, and we just haven't quite seen him rise to that yet. So there's a lot of people with their name that had Rocco Spindler as the number one recruit in that class. And so people are kind of disappointed with where that's all at. Now, Blake Fisher, here's the other one, Blake, or Rocky. With Fisher, I think he's healthy. There's just a little bit of something there. I don't know whether he's overthinking things before he moves. There's a tiny hitch there. He's not moving like I think he should move. And I wonder if it's just a little bit of hesitation or worry about the next step. I don't know. There's something there, but we definitely need more consistency. And I got Alt going a little bit more on the other side, physicality wise and all that. I need Blake to tighten it up a little bit and get mean. He needs to get a little meaner. I don't know. I think he's a nice kid. Maybe too nice. I need mean. Here's the thing. To be a great offensive lineman, I'm a firm believer in this. You need hatred in your heart to be a great offensive lineman. And I mean that in the most genuine way possible. You need pure, unadulterated hatred in your heart to be a good offensive lineman. It's a requirement. So some guys might have a switch they could flip and get into that. I don't know. But I need guys that are mean. So I need you to have hatred in your heart and go out there ready to kill. I just do. Let's look at a couple other of these. Let's see here. I like Pyne, but all I hear is he's too small and doesn't have a strong arm and he can't make all the throws needed at this level. So my question is, why was he offered a scholarship? Who recruited him? Oh boy, Jay, that's very, very interesting you ask that. And there may be some future Always Irish programming coming out in the next day or two that will address this exact dynamic, okay? Here's what I'm sick of. And Kelly did it all the time, and the media let him get away with it. Jay, I'm glad you brought this up, although it's bad for my hairline. Phone lines, we're getting to you in a second. 818 first, and we got a couple other after that. Line up in the queue. 312-900-8815, folks. Okay, so here's the dynamic. Kelly, and trust me, there's going to be a full episode on this later because it's been bugging me all week, okay? Kelly would get these quarterbacks in, and then it's like, we don't have an elite guy, or people want to know if the lower class guys are ready to step up and play and all that kind of stuff. With like Phil and that kind of thing. When are you going to get your chance? Last year, is it going to be Buckner, or are you going to get it and start the developmental program, or are you going to get a 1 year Band-Aid guy because you think you're a playoff team, but you wouldn't be with the young quarterback? All of it. But Kelly used to tell you in these press conferences, it'd be like, How close is this guy to playing or seeing the field and all that? And Kelly would tell you, well, traits. And well, this guy isn't quite as consistent in practice as we need, or he needs to learn more of the playbook and this and that. And, you got to be able to, we need to trust you could do all this stuff before you could go out there. Even some guys in different positions got to fill into their bodies. That's why they can't play early and all that. Kelly would say that about the quarterbacks. They're not ready. They're still developing. They have a lot to learn. And then the media would go, oh, okay, I guess we'll just see you at the press conference tomorrow. My next question is, why? Why? The media let Kelly get away with this every week, saying, oh, these quarterbacks we recruited aren't ready. Don't expect it. They're not ready. He would look at you in the media like you're crazy for assuming a young player could come into college football and play good his first year as quarterback. And the media never followed up with him. It was just like, yeah, it must be hard. There's no way at Notre Dame you could get a guy in here and have him play right away, or off a redshirt year and then have him play right away and get good production. Kelly talked to you like that was impossible. Kelly did. He talked to you like that was an excuse in the press conference. You're not getting good enough quarterback play. And we would ask, where's a young guy ready to compete for the job? Well, they're not ready. They're not ready. They're not ready. That's not an excuse, Kelly. That breeds another question, which is, if you're telling me guy after guy after guy you get is never ready to compete early, guess what that means? It means you're doing a crappy job evaluating the recruits you get. That's what that means. It's not a get out of jail free card. It means you're messing up something else card. That's what that means, folks. So either way you want to go with this, the staff's in the wrong. So if you want to go with the excuses of these young guys, just aren't ready, they're not, whatever, we can't trust them, they don't understand it all, fine. But then that means you need to raise the recruit level you're getting to begin with. So when they come to Notre Dame, you're starting at a higher level. This is not rocket science. This is not rocket science. Everybody else in the country has young guys that can go play. I'm sick of it. Drake May, the guy we're playing this week, is a redshirt freshman, tied for first in the country with touchdowns with 11. 8th in QBR as a redshirt freshman, 89.5. He's tied with Stroud for most touchdowns in the country as a redshirt freshman. But Notre Dame tells you for a decade plus that can't happen here. It can't happen here. They told you repeatedly they couldn't do it here. I'm sick of it. Notre Dame is not winning jack until they have elite quarterback play. They're not winning jack, okay? They're not. It is the single biggest piece missing out of this whole program is appropriate recruiting, retention, and development in the quarterback room. Number one problem. I think Notre Dame would be amazed how easy life gets if you just recruit and develop elite guys. John, it's hard. John, they need time. Tell that to Drake May. He's throwing the ball all over his freshman. You know what else Drake May has that pisses me off? You know what else Drake May has right now that makes me mad? A true freshman wide receiver he's built a relationship with and is throwing the ball all over. There's another one. True freshman wide receiver. And Mac Brown goes, we need guys that make plays. Go make plays. So now they have a connection between a redshirt freshman, a redshirt freshman quarterback and a true freshman wide receiver, and they're getting production every week. You can say they're not playing anybody. Marshall's not playing anybody. And we didn't do it. So if you want to say, yeah, they're putting up numbers, but it's against nobody, that's what Marshall was supposed to be for us, right? So I just don't have the patience for this excuse. And I need the media to quit carrying water for it. You need to ask the next tough question. Oh, these young quarterbacks aren't ready. The next question is, isn't that a problem? Doesn't that mean either one, you're not developing well enough, quick enough, or two, you're recruiting guys too low to begin with, and there's too much work to even get them to where they can play? Either one of those you want to go with, it's a fail. It's a fail. Kelly and Reese, that's the other part. That's the other part. If you're hoping this will all change now because Kelly's gone, Reese had a hand in all these quarterbacks that aren't getting the job done and aren't big enough to be big-time winning Division I quarterbacks. Drew Pyne is doing the best he can. This is what I feel bad about. Drew Pyne gets dumped on because he's not a physical specimen at quarterback that can make all the plays and throws at an elite level. He gets dumped on for that. He is what he is. None of this is his fault. None of this is his fault. This difficult dynamic he's in right now with the weight of Notre Dame on his shoulders, none of that's his fault. Pyne's what he is. That is what it is. It's not, my problem isn't with him. It's that even with him and Buckner, you still need elite somewhere in the room. Not potential. You need elite somewhere in your quarterback room. Somewhere in the quarterback room. You need a guy with that. So if it's going to be CJ Carr, it's CJ Carr. Beautiful. But like, Freeman needs one of these guys to hitch a wagon to. You would be amazed how much easier life gets in your football program when you know you have a good quarterback. It blows my mind. This is Notre Dame, and you can't get elite quarterback play. You've been doing something wrong. And then that causes a trickle-down effect where then your quarterback stuff isn't that great. And then when does that affect skill recruiting? You don't think a wide receiver's looking at the quarterback room wondering who the hell's going to get me the ball if I go to Notre Dame? All this stuff connects. It all connects, okay? And it's all a frustration for me. Notre Dame, we're in such a circle because we're not in a conference and we're on our own island. So we're in this little like Notre Dame sphere. It's hard to look outside of it sometimes at what's going on. Young guys, freshmen, redshirt freshmen, true freshmen play at a lot of places. They play at a lot of places and they contribute. I'm not saying throw a guy out there. They contribute, but you have to recruit at a certain level that the guys are physically ready to do that. And in the quarterback room, if you're going to be under 6 feet tall for Notre Dame, you need to be Michael Vick. Like, I'm not laughing. If you're going to keep getting these tiny quarterbacks, you at least need to be fast as hell to make up for being tiny. Totally frustrating. 2 Irish brothers. People need to stop acting like UNC's good. They haven't played a good defense yet. App State 73 total defense. Georgia State 106. Florida A&M. Come on, man. 2 Irish brothers. I don't disagree, but also people could ask, look at what Notre Dame's done. Like, I'm not acting like we're playing the best team in the country. A part of my worry about this game is that I don't trust us. Like, it's a 2-part equation. Yeah, I don't think they're that great. I have questions about who they played. But I also feel bad about us because I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no idea what's going to happen. So, yeah, they put up a lot, but they've given up a lot. And they're giving up a lot against teams Notre Dame has way more talent than. In this rushing yardage suggests to me Notre Dame should just be able to run the ball. Mini Ohio State style. If they score a lot of points, you get the ball, run it, eat up the clock, score, play defense. Like a mini Ohio State format is kind of how I see this. Notre Dame's going to try and run the ball. It's the best thing you could do to help Pyne out. 818, we're doing great. You're on the line.
Good morning, Mr. Kennedy.
Good morning. What do you think of this North Carolina situation?
Well, okay, so I'm thinking to myself, a lot of thoughts about this game. John, these next two, the North Carolina game and the BYU game, are the two most important games this year as far as defining who this team is. Generally speaking, you have your most improvement, as they say, in week 2 of the season. However, I disagree with that a little bit. If you come out in game 1 with, looking your best. In other words, whether it's game 1 and you blow the team out, or game 1 is against a team like Ohio State and you really do bring it, at least from an emotional standpoint, then a lot of times week 2 is actually your drop-off. Week 3 is generally, though, when the top end and the bottom end of the team gets taken away, and that's kind of who the team is, usually between 3 and 4. Then you can kind of figure that's who we are unless something major happens, injury, this or that or the other. I think last week against Cal is more the team Notre Dame actually is, albeit you could see the nervousness. You could feel it. And it wasn't just Pyne. You could feel it defensively until things got rolling.
Yeah.
And when things got rolling, you also saw what happens to just being a Notre Dame fan and on the team that wears blue and gold in that stadium. Weird shit. S-H-I-T comes into play. So those two interceptions, or the interception and the fumble. Case in point, the Hail Mary, case in point. Those things just seem to happen to us. So things aren't going well right now. If things can start going well, I think it honestly can build momentum. I honestly think it can build momentum. So what I'm expecting is us to split the next 2 games. Probably lose this one, but we almost never come out flat in those Shamrock games. Have we ever lost? I know the competition hasn't been fantastic, but I got a good feeling about next week, especially if we lose this week. If we win, I'm a little more worried about next week, because then you're looking at maybe a letdown. The point is, I think these next 2 games we'll find a lot. If we win the next 2, doesn't even matter if we win close or whatever. I think we could actually, there's a theoretical chance of going the rest of the way. I really mean that, if we win the next 2. If we lose the next 2, it could be 3-9.
So wait a second, though. Wait a second. So you're saying that if we found a way to beat North Carolina and BYU, then that's going to give you confidence to feel better about playing USC and Clemson in the second half of the season? Am I following you?
Absolutely, because it's in the second half of the season. The first half of the season, keep in mind last year, too, we were a very different team the first half than the last half. The first half of the year, John, the only difference between this year's team and last year's is that we found a way to beat Toledo. That's it. Other than that, these two teams are almost identical in terms of how they look on the field. But the second half of the year, they look a whole lot better. So, yes, I believe that's possible. I still think we'll get better regardless. But you know what it does to a team's confidence to win a couple games like this, or to lose a couple games like this.
And you know what else?
That's why I feel,
Rodney, the other thing, man, is when you rewatch the game, like, you watch it live, and then when you do what I do, I want to let the emotions calm down and watch it later when, like, I know what happened. And, it's not like the initial emotion. They played so tight against Cal. You could tell, like, both sides of the ball, but especially offensively, they were wound so tight. Like, the pressure of the world, you could just feel it. And I knew the vibe was going to be weird. Like, everybody was just waiting for the next bad thing to happen. Like, they were really, really tight. And then they got things going, and I'm hoping they come in there a lot loose. And I actually don't mind being on the road a little bit. I think it might be good for you once in a while when you're struggling. Get away, it can't be Penn State at night, LSU at night, the horseshoe, the big house. But something like this in the afternoon, get away from South Bend without all of us sitting there like waiting for the bad shoe to drop. I actually like it. Get your momentum. You got a little feel good in you. Go out there and play good football. Play good football.
John, I got a question about North Carolina. I didn't follow them in recruiting this year. That receiver and that quarterback, those 2 freshmen. What were was their recruiting accolades coming out of high school?
Ooh, that's a good question. I know, wasn't Drake May a highly rated quarterback? Somebody's going to know this in the chat. Drake May, and then let me find the name on my list of that receiver. Because Downs their best receiver, Josh Downs, went down in the first game. He's been out, and he's supposed to come back this week. And then this guy took his place as a true freshman, and they have a good connection. I'm looking for his name. But somebody will know in the chat. But I think that quarterback was fairly well thought of. I know that, but the receiver's name I don't recognize. Paysour, Paysour, 14 catches, 172 yards as a true freshman right out of high school. Drake May was a 4-star. Richard put in the chat. And I know they're not playing good competition. But I like when you're not playing good competition, you should have these numbers and light it up and throw it all over. That's the point, and that's what they're doing. And I just wish Notre Dame could do that once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I just think these next two games are so important, man. And I don't know what to expect this week. I really don't. I'm not exactly sure. I know the night atmosphere at North Carolina doesn't rise to the level of Clemson at night or LSU at night or Florida or any of those places in the swamplands of America. But I also, that's going to be key to me too, is how into the game is the crowd? Because I honestly feel, man, Notre Dame could be just a step or two away from taking it to that next level, the next level of their ascension, where we thought they would be. I think we're close to that, but I could also see, obviously, we're on the cusp right now, which means it could go either way. I really feel like my hope and my gut feeling is that we split these two games. I think it'll be a good game this week. I just think, again, now those nerves have been taken out. However, as you said, being on the road, I think it's a great thing. And the fact that the Shamrock game is on the road, basically, in Vegas, that's a really good thing. This is key, man. This is key. One last thing, a point I had, and I said this before, I mentioned it maybe, and I don't go on the online chats that often, but I might have mentioned this then. I really believe Notre Dame needs to keep Tommy Rees, whether he gets the job for the Bears or gets the job for the NFL. I'm thinking the Bears out loud. Thinking about that game there the other night against Green Bay. But now I'm thinking about if Rees goes to the NFL, that's one thing. But if he is retained, boy, man, I really think it would be key for us to get a seasoned veteran quarterback coach. I really think that's what's lacking right now, is there's not that experience on the offensive side of the ball that we need. Yeah, he stands great, but that's the line and the tight ends are kind of one thing, and then your skill players are another. You see what I'm saying? I would like to see Notre Dame make that move and hire someone like a David Cutcliffe, for instance, somebody like that.
Listen, it's totally fair to ask. If you look at Notre Dame's recent quarterback room vintage, it is perfectly fair to ask, where's the linear progression upwards, over the years with these guys? And then we ended up losing a bunch of guys. Like, no offense, Phil Yurkovich should probably be the quarterback in Notre Dame right now. He had the arm. He's a pro. He's got a pro arm. Like, he should probably be the quarterback right now. Like, I have issues with all of the quarterback room: recruiting, development, retention. I have issues with all of those areas. 703, you're up next. See you on the line. I have issues in all those areas. And so until that gets better, Notre Dame's not winning their ultimate goal. You need to stabilize that room, and they've just struggled to do it.
That's why these two games are so key, man. We'll see who we got, man. We'll see certainly this 2-game stretch will define who Notre Dame is. On that note, John, take care, buddy.
You too. Thanks for the call. Have a good one. Appreciate you.
You too.
Listen, he's a little more positive than I think most people are with what's possible and being on the fringe of turning the corner. I feel like there's still too many issues for me to feel that way. But if you could find a way to fight through those issues and win this game on the road, Man, that would really help people feel better. Like, get a little winning streak. It's college football. There's only 12 games. Build a winning streak. You're supposed to win a bunch of games in a row. All right? You're supposed to. People keep wanting Art Briles. I'm telling you, that ends up in my chat every week. I just don't think it's ever going to happen just because of the drama and the history and all that. What else? What else do we have here? The Irish were lucky to defeat Cal, took a phantom offsides to give you momentum. I'm not going to lie. I still don't understand that play and that call. I've seen the stills, and it looks like the number of the guy they called it on, there wasn't a guy with that number out there. I don't know. It was a little weird. But then at the same time, they had a couple receptions that should have been reviewed that were rolling around or that I'm not sure of. But, man, we'll take what we can get. Seriously, take what we can get. Even though May hasn't faced top defenses, the throws he's making and the precision and how he's commanding the offense are very impressive. I do think we get him to make a couple mistakes. Irish trending, thank you very much. That's perfect. I'm glad you put that up because I wanted to speak about that exact thing. Irish trending, great comment. Here's my thought on that. When I was looking at my notes preparing for this show, and I knew I was going to get worked up about the production coming out of that young quarterback and young receiver connection with North Carolina. I knew that was going to make me mad. But here's the deal. I knew people were going to say, look who they're playing. FAMU, Georgia State, App State. You know, App State can come bite you, but nobody's going to say they have top to bottom, Power 5 big time talent, especially up front. So I knew people were going to say, yeah, but who's he playing? It's about how it looks, if that makes sense. And I think that's what Irish trending is saying. It matters to me how it looks. And if you're playing lower competition, then that means you should look the way Drake Mays looked, which means you're right on track. That's my point. So you can manipulate that both ways. It's like, well, they're not playing anybody. Andy's doing his job, not playing anybody, putting up a ton of points and yards. That's what you should do if you're good and you're playing lower competition, and he's doing it. We play lower competition against Marshall. Nothing. So that's not an excuse either. Notre Dame people always want to find a way to feel better about ourselves. Discounting what Drake May's doing because it's against lower competition doesn't do that. That makes me ask, why don't we do that against lower competition? Why the hell don't we score 63 points? I almost just let something rip. Woo! I almost just let something rip. The FCC is going to have me canceled. That almost flew. But that's the deal. It's like, well, they're playing nobody, putting up these points. Why the hell can't Notre Dame put up a bunch of points against nobodies then? Tell me the answer. Why does everybody else score 9,000 points against nobodies? And when we do, I can't get a first down. Something's wrong. Jeez. 7:03, you're talking to me. Good morning on a Find a Win Wednesday.
Hey, Big Johnny, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you today? What are you thinking and feeling this week? You got Caroline in your mind or what?
Well, if you had told me about this game about 5 weeks ago, I would have said no problem. Now, of course, I'm worried because of how we're playing this year.
Right.
I think we match up pretty well on the line, especially defensively the last couple of years. They haven't really ran the ball on except for the quarterback last year. And hopefully the defensive line found their way this week. But the problem is our linebackers have been pathetic. They're just Leopold, everybody can't find them anywhere.
What do you make? Listen, what do you make of that? I've been reading and hearing a lot of people upset with that. And I think we really thought that group was going to be a plus unit. And they're having real trouble. They're having trouble getting off blocks. They're having trouble timing things up. What are you seeing there? I thought that group would be a little better so far.
Yeah, I thought they would be such an upgrade over last year because Lady Powell would have been healthy. And Bertrand, he was hurt half the year last year with a broken hand.
Mm-hmm.
So I really thought they would take a step up. My only thing is I'm not an expert. I'm just a guy who sits on my couch, eating nachos. But maybe I did play high school football. I sat on the bench. I'm not Al Bundy. But maybe they're thinking too much. Sometimes when you have guys thinking, they don't play well. You get caught up in blocks.
Yep. And I definitely
go out there and play.
And I definitely felt that in the first half against Cal. By the way, 224, you're up next. That's an Illinois number. You're up next. Hold tight. Yeah, for sure. And I think the weight of the world was on Pyne. It looked like it was a struggle. They knew everybody was down and on the edge of their seat. The whole vibe was weird, but I give them credit for fighting through it and finding a way to win this game. That doesn't mean that we're where we should be overall. Like, both things can be true at the same time, man. I could be relieved and happy for the team they won against Cal and frustrated overall and feel like we're not where we need to be. Both those could be true at the same time. Does that make sense to you in your mind?
Absolutely. Now, let me just speak about the defense one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Talk about Pyne.
Sure.
The sad thing is the most thing I'm confident in right now on our defense is our secondary.
Yeah,
it's a weird feeling.
Dude,
usually the secondary we're always scared to play.
Listen, it's weird. It's weird that you bring that up. That in my pregame show I'm putting out tonight, I go through that and I mention what is wrong in Notre Dame land, where I actually feel pretty decent about the secondary right now. That's a red flag. Am I being set up here to get burned in the North Carolina Tar Heel sky, or can I buy in and trust that group? I don't know.
Yeah, it's amazing because Bracey's played so well. Clarence has played well. The freshmen have both played real well. I know Mickey got beat on that the safety blitz, but left the freshman on an island.
Yep.
I'm not blaming him on that. Now, offensively, God bless Tommy Reese. He said everything we were all saying while watching the game.
Yep.
And I feel kind of sorry for Pyne, but tell me if I'm wrong, John. The first two games when Tyler was quarterback, it seemed like they gave him a lot, especially wanting him to throw the ball down the field because of his arm and his athletic, his arm. But they never really took advantage of his athletic ability by rolling him out like they did. They rolled Pyne 4 or 5 times out, even though he missed some throws. The only time they ever did that with Tyler was the game against Ohio State. He got a 2-yard pass to Bear.
Yeah, but I don't listen. I don't understand. And man, you're bringing up a really good point. And I've spent a lot of time thinking about this exact dynamic. It's weird you're hitting on this. I felt like in retrospect, the first couple weeks, the offense was built for what Reese wanted it to be, not what it was. And he set up an offense the way he wanted it to be. And then we found out the hard way, for whatever reason, talent, experience, execution, coaching, he wanted to run an offense we couldn't run because we didn't have the personnel and we weren't executing it. Listen, here's the one that gets me. Before Buckner got hurt, he had 50 passes. 47 of them were dropped back in the pocket. 3 of them were designed on the move. That is not using Tyler Buckner's skills the best. He is most comfortable on the move, reacting, not reading and thinking, reacting on the move. Then he can run. I don't like that. They built an offense they wanted, ignoring what it could be and what it was, and it cost you. It cost you.
And exactly. And they used Tyree the right way for the first time. I like the 2-headed monster better than the 3-headed one we're hoping to get. And the offense that Tommy wanted could have got there if you would have built on little pillars at a time. Instead of forcing everything. I like throwing deep every game because it brings the safety back. But what scares me this week is because Pyne played well after he got his ass chewed out. We'll be honest. But if you look at the stats, you really look into the numbers, it's 2.8 yards per attempt and I heard on another podcast is negative 0.7 yards per completion. You're not going to beat the normal teams. You're not going to beat Clemson. You're not going to beat UNC. You're not even going to beat BYU unless you start hitting these 10 or 15-yard passes here. You can't miss Mara when he's 25 yards wide open. Every quarterback misses throw.
Yeah. And the other, listen.
Like when we miss a throw, it's like an avalanche. We can't get a first down.
The thing is, it's like, here's the deal. They found a little something last week. The running game did get going enough. It is nowhere acceptable. It is nowhere even in the, I can't even see the acceptable numbers that they should be to me. We're way short of where I think that line should be. But they did get a little something going with the run game, did wear down Cal's undersized front. However, they started doing them little shorter passes, getting guys in space. Tyree had 5, Estima even had 3, these short outs. You're not going to be able to do that every week. You ain't going to be able to dink and dunk it, throwing passes 2 yards from the line of scrimmage. Those routes are going to get jumped for pick sixes and or totally blocked off the perimeter. You are going to have to expand vertically. You're going to have to. So far, Notre Dame's scared to throw in the middle of the field, and I don't know why. And every time they have done it, it's been open. Work some stuff over the middle of the field like every other team in the country can do.
Right. And also, you know how we're talking about the offense from Tyler and to Drew? They threw multiple screens this last week. We haven't seen any weeks before that. But hopefully, what we're talking about the offensive line, it seemed after the first quarter, especially after the first drive when they hit that fire blitz up the middle, the offensive line pass protect very well.
Yep.
We had a blitz picked up by Estime, which the other guy, Diggs, missed the week before. And hopefully they found a little rhythm, and hopefully Drew can build on what he did this week. You don't have to be great.
Yep.
You don't even have to be Ian Book, but he has to make the throws that are open. And
yeah.
Hopefully we can control the clock.
Here's what I'm not going to do. I am not going to expect more physically out of Drew Pyne than Drew Pyne is capable physically of doing. And I want to be very clear that this is a very complicated discussion. What I mean by this is Drew Pyne is physically limited to a certain point. That is never going to change. That is not his fault. My complaint is I love Drew Pyne, but he should not ever be in the position to be Notre Dame's starting quarterback. That's my position, but you can't say it without it coming off mean to Pyne. What are you breaking in a safe? What are you breaking in a safe? I hear it. Boop, beep, boop, boop.
I'm a mailman. I'm scanning packages.
Oh, there you go.
I can do 2 things at once.
I can't. That's impressive.
I'm on vacation, so I got. Yeah, thank you. I haven't dropped it either, so that's a good thing.
Beautiful.
But I think you're right about Pyne. He's a gamer. He has moxie. I think he was at his wit's end at the beginning of the game, and hopefully this will give him confidence.
Yeah,
he don't have to be perfect, but don't make him where he's throwing the ball 40 yards downfield. But you got to take a shot once in a while.
Yeah, even if
him out. Hey, listen, the guy's not open, overthrow him.
Yeah, but you need to do that just to keep the defense honest. You can't allow them to just play you in a 20-yard little box and then you have no space to operate. You cannot do that. So you do have to expand this, but you have to start from some basic level of competency. And I feel like we maybe found a little of that last week, but I still need to mention all of this that we're talking about is below where I need it to be. Like the whole discussion is underlying me mad because none of it's where it should be. And that's tough.
Yeah, we're 75% behind where we should be right now.
So
this is my point of view. I know you got other callers to take.
So do you think we get it done? Do you think we get it done at North Carolina? Or are we on the edge of our seats? What happens here? Make the call.
Well, we're going to be on the edge of our seats because that's the way we're going to be playing this year.
Right. Yeah.
I just think somehow we'll pull it off. There's no dig on North Carolina who they played because we don't do that bad. But I just feel like I'm counting on Golden to be able to confuse this quarterback a little bit. Just like he did with Stroud the first game of the year. And hopefully we might get a turnover, God forbid.
Yeah, I know. That'd be
field position where we get field 10 or 17 points for the field position.
Gonna have to.
Like last week we scored 24 points, right? We would have scored over 30 last week if the quarterback didn't have his problem. So hopefully we could build on that, maybe get a turnover or two and don't give a couple back. I think we'll win this game, then We have 2 weeks to get ready for BYU, and that's going to be the pivotal game of the year if we win this one.
Yep.
Either we're going to be 62 or 5-3 going into Clemson.
Yep. And it really does make sense to me that you would be able to pile 2 wins together, feel pretty good about yourself, then go into the break, being able to work on stuff, coming off a couple win or coming off a win. That's a good dynamic too. So let's hope that's what we see. But good luck at work today. Doing a hard job out there. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you, Big John. Pleasure talking to you. I won't know I won't be able to watch the game till about 9:00 that night. So I won't know because I got to work. So I'll be on DVR. So
all right,
you'll know how I'm feeling around midnight that night.
Beautiful. Let me know. Take care, my friend. Have a good rest of the week. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
What a nice guy. Good call. Okay, we're going to get back to the calls, but I have a couple chats to get to. 224's up next. Local Illinois, I know. 269, you're coming up on the line. You're going to be after 224. I got to get to a couple chats. Notre Dame has Hike Daily. I like that. I would like it if it was really your name, but the idea that you would hike daily, I like it. It's good for you. Get outside. Indy has real problems. Is it the players? Is it the coaching? What I saw in the first half of the Cal game was the worst ND team I've ever seen. Yes. Is it the players? Yes. Is it the coaching? Yes. There's just a lot of waves working against Marcus Freeman right now, folks. There just is. He's taking his dues, learning nothing comes easy. Life's hard. Even if Buckner was totally healthy, he came in with no real experience. Even if the guy we wanted out there was healthy, you don't know what you're going to get, and he's new. Notre Dame just never has this lined up right with the quarterbacks. They just never do. They never do. Never. The show I'm putting out in a couple days has a list, and I think there's over 24 quarterbacks I go through saying, where was the recruiting and development on this guy, on this guy, on this guy, on this guy? It's amazing. It's amazing. Notre Dame can't attract top-level quarterbacks with Joe Montana as your headpiece. Quarterback at Notre Dame should be as Hollywood as it gets. That romantic Joe Montana, you're the quarterback at Notre Dame. Nobody cares. Go somewhere where they're going to let you throw it all over, make your NIL money, and then go to the league, right? Like, I don't know, man. Oh, this stuff stresses me out. Craig asks, good to see you, Craig. You're probably driving around today. A lot of people catch me while they're working. God bless you. Hardworking people out there making moves. Good for you. That's what keeps the country going, okay? Is strength and conditioning failing. Here's the thing, Craig. Nobody could tell me overnight, 1 year to the next, Matt Bayless got bad at his job. No one could tell me that. I refuse to believe it. Matt Bayless is one of the best in the business, and Notre Dame would not have the 5-year streak of 10-plus wins and everything we've been doing without Matt Bayless. He was a big unsung hero and a part of the reason we've been able to do that. There's no way that guy just got lazy and bad at his job. That tells me that it's coaching and or execution by the players. Because there's no way in hell Matt Bayless just got bad at his job, but we've all been touting him as an unsung hero the last handful of years. There's no way that I see that being the issue. That points me down coaching, development, and execution then. What else could it be? I refuse to accept that Bayless is bad at his job now. I do. Ooh, boy. Sam Draper's burner, you mad cute. Hey, I'll take it on a Wednesday morning. I'll take that, buddy. I will take that, Sam Draper's burner. Appreciate that. John Galt lives again. Freeman is a complete fraud. Listen, folks. I don't think Freeman's a complete fraud. I am going to admit something, though, that I don't want to admit. I don't. John Galt lives again. You're getting me to admit something here I didn't really want to admit. Freeman does look, he looks like he's going through a lot. And he is, but it's showing. That's what I'm going to say. It looks like the man's going through a lot, and he is going through a lot, and it shows. And I feel for him because I just see the wheels spinning and the 30 different things in his brain he needs to do all at once. And it's the season. Things aren't going smoothly. I can look at Marcus and just see there's a lot there that's on his plate. But I also believe that if anybody could figure out how to navigate it, it's going to be a guy like him. But it is stressful. 224, give me some more. You're on the air. This got to be an Illinois call. Am I right?
Johnny, I'm going to tell you what. Born and raised 5 minutes from Notre Dame. When I left for the military, my number comes from when I was stationed right there in Great Lakes at Navy boot camp. And now I live in North Carolina. So I've been all around. I got something for you, John. I want to pull something up here and get your opinion, get your thoughts on this, all right?
Okay.
This is going to be something really good for you. So her rivals, Drew Pyne, had a 4-star rating. He was 118th national, number 1 in the state, and he was number 7 in the position, right? Size, 6 foot, 181 pounds. That was last 2020. Now I'm going to give you one here. Here's another guy, size 6 foot, 175 pounds. He was a 2-star recruit. I'm talking about Stetson Bennett. Now, follow me. I don't think, I agree, Drew Pyne does have some limitations, and I'm not a huge Drew Pyne fan. I was all over the Tyler Buckner bandwagon. But I think this goes to show you can take a 2-star, undersized, who no one thought could do a job, and has now won a national championship with the Georgia Bulldogs, being undersized, not coming out of high school with a high 5-star rating. It goes to the development piece that you're always talking about. I think there is a major lack of development at Notre Dame, and has been for years. When I was a young lad there growing up, I went to Notre Dame football, basketball, and hockey. My parents had season tickets every year, so I grew up going. Now, the way Notre Dame has been for the last 25 years, there's always been a lack of development. Because even if you look at Brady Quinn, had a great college, but then just there was no development there enough to take him into a successful pro career. There's been several of them like that. But what do we do? If you look at Tommy Rees, Tommy wasn't the greatest when he was at Notre Dame playing. He had his, he could never hold on to the starting job because he wasn't good enough to be a full-time starter. He'd come in, save the day, and then he'd get a few games and, whatever. He ended up with a decent career. But then you bring him in, and he's the quarterback coach. Well, he wasn't a great quarterback to begin with. So you've got him now trying to develop the talent. Point is, there's been good talent who's come in. Drew Pyne was a highly rated 4-star, whether he's undersized or not. He had a hell of a career in high school. He has not been developed properly, and it is because the lack of development that happens at Notre Dame. And I think it's not just the quarterback position. Under Kelly, Swamp Thing, he wasn't developing players as well. So what are your thoughts on that comparison between two undersized quarterbacks, one who was a 4-star, number 1 out of their state, and another one who was an unranked 2-star, who's now won a national championship?
Yep. That's a really good call and a good point. And thank you for your military service as well. So a couple things here.
Thanks.
One is development in the quarterback room at Notre Dame has been an issue for 25 or 30 years. I mean, I liked Brady Quinn, but it's like, what else? And Kaiser looked good and flashed for a few games, but development is obviously an issue. I would also love Notre Dame to find a way. You know what shortens the developmental track is the higher rated quarterback recruits you get, there should be less time you have to develop before they can get out there and make plays. So it's all related as far as the theory that if the rating system's fairly accurate, the better the guy you get coming out of high school, theoretically, the less development there has to be done before they can contribute. So that's also a problem with Notre Dame, is not getting the highest of the high guy to begin with, which elongates the time frame. That's a part of it. But the development's clearly an issue. Kelly's gone. Reese is here. Reese handpicked Buckner. Reese handpicked Pyne. These are Reese's guys that he liked. He must have saw something. So the development's an issue too. But let me ask this with Stetson Bennett specifically. You can't compare the supporting talent cast Stetson Bennett has and has had to Pyne or Buckner. That's another part of this equation is the better the overall talent is on the rest of the roster, the lower the quarterback can be because you have elite everywhere else to balance it out. Notre Dame doesn't have that. They don't have an elite roster and elite quarterback play. Stetson Bennett could afford to be a little less great because you have top 3 talent everywhere else on the field. Georgia has top 3 talent everywhere else. So your quarterback doesn't have to carry the weight of the world with him when you have all that on both sides of the ball. Notre Dame doesn't have that. So that increases the pressure on the quarterback to be the one to have to do it all. So it's all an issue. But how do you fix that developmental part? Get rid of Tommy because he's the last link there. How do you fix the developmental arm of this?
Well, I agree with you. And that's why I said there's a developmental issue all around, because we know Dell Alexander didn't do anything with the receivers. He was terrible, absolutely garbage in development. We know they have had some damn good receivers who have been there who did not live up to the expectations. And I fully believe that is because of the lack of development at that side as well. I don't think Drew Pyne, I think he could be much better. I agree exactly what you're saying with Stetson Bennett. He's got the players around him. If Notre Dame was developing the other talent around them to the potential that they are supposed to have coming out of high school, the hype that they have, I mean, hell, I think a lot of them take a step back from what they played in high school. If they played at the level they played in high school, we'd be competing for national championships. But it's like they take a step back because of a lack of coaching at their position groups. I think if you did that, I'm not saying you could put Drew Pyne in Stetson Bennett's position, but Drew Pyne would be a lot better. And again, I'm not a huge Drew Pyne fan. I was a Buckner fan. But I think if we had a little bit more skilled players living up to and being coached up to their hype, Drew Pyne has a much better chance. And I do think he's got a little bit of confidence now. Mm-hmm. You go back to the Blue Bowl game, he played like crap. Everybody bashed him. I think he came into that with way too much on his shoulders, thinking, oh, this is my chance. He knew he was behind the eight ball being Tyler Buckner. And he wanted to go out there and just do so much, knowing he could be that all-time quarterback like we played when we were kids, out in the park, that he just tried too much and he failed miserably. And then that's what happened. I honestly think that's what happened the beginning of last week. He came out that very first. I liked that they came right out and gave him just a quick little pass to the side. Of course, he throws it at his feet from 10 yards. But that was Reese trying to get him comfortable right off the bat, and he blew it. But then that brought his own confidence down. And it took until Tommy Rees chewed his ass up and down to get him to just say, you know what, take a breath and let's play ball. And he was much, much better in the second half.
Yeah. And you know what else, too? Here's what else helped in the second half. These things are, to me, these things are brother, sister. All right. Also in the second half, Notre Dame did start doing a better job being able to move the pile and run the ball a little bit. Being able to run the ball is Drew Pyne's best friend this year. It is the only chance Notre Dame has to be even respectable on offense, is they have to be able to run the ball a little more, or that you're locked in it then where you're totally screwed. So they need to maintain that momentum and be able to run the ball a little more. Again, App State, 288 rushing yards against North Carolina. Georgia State, 235. Come on. Like, if you can't run the ball, but those teams do, what are you doing? Harry, retire again then, because you're not doing anything if that's what's happening. Retire again.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think going into this, I think the running back room and that offensive line was supposed to carry a lot of this team.
Yep.
That was it. I mean, we knew we had questions at wide receiver and at quarterback. And I think we all thought, all right, Buckner can run, so he's going to buy some time with his legs until he gets into a good season rhythm with his receivers and being able to throw the ball. And so that was kind of Buckner's legs, or the safety net for the offense to get really going, you know. But we thought we had good strength at running back and the offensive line. That is going to carry the day. Of course, you got Michael Mayer. You never forget about him. You put him in whatever situation. Yeah, I think maybe we should just put him as a tailback and let him go. Just plow through some freaking lines. But that did happen. The defense did pick up. The havoc definitely started being created. I think as a whole, and this kind of goes now to your question of the week, can we string some together? I do feel like, and usually this kind of bites me in the ass when I feel like this, but I do feel like we're going to go in and we're going to have a statement game. I think we've got enough confidence now.
Yeah.
We don't have the pressures of being at home.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to go into North Carolina and we are going to have a statement game. Now, a lot of people are going to say, you know, and I'm like you, I like throwing things out before everybody gets a chance to say it. That way you can be like, yeah, I've already said that, so just pay attention, you know.
Right.
They're going to say, yeah, but who's North Carolina played? So you should have done that.
Yep.
You know,
yep.
Right? But then I think it was 818 when he was talking to you earlier this morning. He said, look, we haven't lost the Shamrock Series game. We go into BYU, play them. It's another away game. It's a Shamrock Series. All the hype with the video of the uniforms and everything, and we're going to win that. I think we string these next two together, and we have a lot of momentum then rolling into Clemson.
Wow. That's a nice track. That's a nice track. And then what you could do is, if you find a way to win this week, then you have your bye week and you can breathe a little bit. You're coming off a couple wins, and then you could settle things down. And that would be a really good way to enter the bye. I hope it happens. But really good call, my friend. I appreciate it a lot.
Well, thank you, John. I appreciate it, and I will be talking to you again soon.
Beautiful. Please give me a call again. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, man. Enjoy the game.
Have a good one.
You too.
Yes, sir.
That's a good phone call there. 269, you're up on the line next. Freeman's a complete fraud. No, I don't think so, but I can't, that's the issue, folks. Everybody knows John loved Freeman, all that. Now you're saying he's a fraud and the record isn't great, so I'm not able to properly defend it in a way you're going to accept. And that's a frustrating spot for somebody like me to be in right now, who's on the books as loving and supporting Freeman, buying into his message, his vibe, his delivery, how he runs things, how he is as a person. I love all that. I'm on the books as that. But if you're not winning, nobody gives a crap. Nobody gives a hot crap how nice of a guy you are when you can't beat Marshall at home. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that's not fair. So it makes me mad and I hate it, but I can't fight you on it. I hate it, but it's where we're at. UNC gets close to 600 yards this week. I certainly hope not. Most of my worries, I want to at least be on the offensive side of the ball where I know we have problems. Don't make me have to worry about both. Stetson Bennett. What is this? Come on. Stetson Bennett runs that offense to, the chat's frozen from my end. That's great. It said Stetson Bennett runs that operation, that offense like perfectly. Yeah, it's beautiful. And when you have a guy like that, and he's not the most physically gifted guy, like Stetson Bennett's not Lawrence or one of them guys, that's what you need. You know, you have that elite as an operator and distribute and get those things going. Okay. And that's what Bennett's doing. And when you have all that talent around him, that's all you need to ask that guy to do. Not make mistakes and just get the ball where it needs to go. That's the benefit you have when you have top 3 elite talent on your roster. You don't need to be as perfect at quarterback. Notre Dame's not ever going to be in that position, which is why Notre Dame. Folks understand that, right? It's all proportional. Notre Dame's never going to have top 3 in the country skill position all over. That's why you need the quarterback to make up for that, right? That's why that's a bigger deal at Notre Dame. He has to be better because you're not going to have elite talent everywhere else. Oh, boy. I don't know what's going on with my chats. They're like frozen. 269, you're on the line.
What's up, John?
What's going on, man? Good morning. What do you feel about all this? You think we can? 2 is a streak, my friend. 2 is a streak. Do you think we have it in us, or what are we going to do this week? What are we going to see?
You know, so let's take a trip down memory lane. Chapel Hill is historically a place in the past couple of years we've played well at. Would you disagree with that? It's one of the better places we've played on the road in the past few years.
I do seem to remember that as well. Yes.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't see a whole lot changing with that history. I think that this is the game that Drew Pyne really kind of gets it together, because I mean, he did what he had to last week against a pretty good defense, I would say. Once he kind of started getting going, he did what he had to. I know 150 yards doesn't look like a lot, but you go back and rewatch the game, look at the completion numbers. Like, he wasn't asked to throw it all over the yard. He did what he needed to and made the plays in the second half. And I see this North Carolina defense as just honestly terrible. Like, I really do.
How can you not? How can you not? I mean, they're giving up a ton of points to these teams that you just shouldn't.
Yeah. No, I agree. And you just have to look at it as a natural progression for Drew Pyne of like, hey, you know, he did what he needed to do against Cal, outside of, you know, the first 20 minutes or so. And if he can, you know, bring that into to North Carolina, I think that he's going to have a lot of success. I think that, you know, I'm not going to say that he's going to throw for 300 yards just because I think that he might not need to with some of the things we got going on in the running game. But at the end of the day, I firmly believe that he's going to be able to do what is asked. And I think that, you know, it also means something that this being the second start, that he's, you know, it's not the quick change that he had last week. He's got his feet under him a little bit more, and then hopefully we can carry that into the bye week. And then, you know, as you were saying with the previous caller, it's like that's a pretty good spot to be at, you know. And So I think that he's going to play well. But what I really, really want to see more of is I liked what we were doing against Cal with these two backs sets. That was something that I was hoping we would do more with Buckner, and it never happened. You know, like you were saying earlier, it just seems like the play calling and personnel just never seems to get right with the quarterback. But, you know, it seemed to be working decently well last week. And, you know, I say just let that roll, you know. You see Audric and Tyree in the backfield, you don't know what is going to come after you at a defense. You don't know if it's going to be a handoff to Audric. You know if it's going to be a pass to Tyree, a run to Tyree. Like, you're just left guessing. There's just so many different ways that you can be exploited as a defense. And I think that that's something that we need to keep going.
Yeah, those are really good points. It's just, I'm sitting here really, really wondering, am I asking too much, expecting improvement? You know, it wasn't perfect last week, but you found a way to do enough to win. Can you take what you did well as building block starting points and get better this week? That's what I'm looking for. Now, is that how you would look if your team's elite and really in the top 5 and all that? No, I would have different standards, but I have to look at where we're at right now, not where I think we should be or where I want us to be. And I think there are building blocks you can work with and from. I'm telling you, I think Drew Pyne's going to feel more stress-free playing on the road in North Carolina than he did at Notre Dame at home. I really do think that this week. I do. I really do think that. I do.
Yeah, I agree. And that was part of why I went back and looking at it. It's like, you know, Ian Book had his first start ever at North Carolina, and we played really well. You know, we played really well a couple years ago when, other than the first 2-3 drives, defense tight, we played well there. And, you know, even going back to what was that 2008 when we lost, that 2008 team, that was a really good North Carolina team, and a game that I would say that we overperformed in terms of expectations in that game specifically, if I recall correctly. But I mean, I would be lying a little bit if I didn't say I wasn't worried on the defensive side of the ball a little bit. Mostly because, like, it's honestly, like, I don't know if you would have picked it this way, but through 3 games, it seems like our defensive back unit has been one of the more consistent and better rooms on the whole defensive side of the ball. I certainly would not have guessed that specifically, but
who would? No Notre Dame person could, because it hasn't been. I know how old you are, and it hasn't been around since you've been alive, young man. I know that for sure, because I know about how old you are. Your entire life and my entire life, Notre Dame's secondary's been an issue. 4th and 9 Bush push is ingrained in my soul, and I will never forget it. And I'm on high alert for that heartbreak 24/7. 2011 Michigan not turning around at the big house. Like, all of these Notre Dame secondary failures are primary in my mind. They're secondary failures on the field, but they're primary in my brain.
Right, and it's like, it's hard to believe that they believe it when they play well. You know, it's like, is this real? Is this a fluke? This kind of thing. But I generally do think that they are very good, and I think that that's really going to bode well this week against North Carolina. I think that Benjamin Morrison is playing outstanding football.
And you know who else? You know who else too? I want to give Tariq Bracy credit. He's playing the best football of his life, and he's taken a lot of crap over the seasons of, like, you know, is he good enough? He is playing very, very reliable, solid football back there, and I'm very, very happy for him because he's taken a lot of arrows in the past. He's playing good ball, and I want to make sure to highlight his efforts.
For sure, and I would agree. And even Clarence Lewis has stepped up a lot too. All those guys really have.
Now, but wait, let me ask you this, though. What's going on with the linebackers? I need more. I need more out of that group, and I'm a little disappointed in what I'm getting out of them. Do you agree?
I mean,
No, I definitely agree. And
They don't get off blocks. They don't shed blocks. They're like, something isn't quite lining up there. What do you see there?
No, I agree. It's the same thing. It's a lot of poor tackling too. But this is, I feel a little weird saying this, but I really do believe this. It's like, let's see what happens the first half without JD. It's like, let's see what else we got. I don't know if that's going to be,
You know what?
Junior
Hey, you know what? That's a really good angle. It's like, if you wanted to see what else is out there, well, guess what? He's out the first half. You got to try it anyway. So it forces their hand to try somebody else. Maybe it'll work out better.
That's what my dad and I were saying. Like, I don't know. Like, personally, I would like that guy to be junior to Yalamaka and see what he's got.
Yeah.
I don't know. I doubt they go down that route personally. Just kind of.
But he's got to be one of the next guys up, right? Got to be.
Yeah, he is.
But yeah, somebody in the chat says that the linebackers are human magnets. They just get washed out of every play. They get washed out. They ride the blocks. They don't get off them. And when they're doing when they're trying to blitz or do something, they're like a second late. I don't know if it's just hesitation or overthinking rather than reacting. Right. Like, where's Prince Collie? Does he get time this week? I would love to see it. And you need a body there. I'm open to all that, but they were supposed to be a relied upon strength, and they're not yet. And I need them to get better.
I agree. But I think that it's, there's another side to this coin that the defensive line isn't doing all of their part either, which naturally affects the linebacker.
Now, I do feel like they took a step forward last week. While I understand Cal is not great, they did have 6 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. They got some pressure. They had 5 hurries. They were getting more of that. They looked closer to what we thought they were going to look like disruption-wise. And I know they weren't playing a great team, but it was good to see them come to life. Do you think that'll continue this week? Do we see some turnovers finally? Not fake ones, but actual ones, or what?
Not fake ones. I sure hope so. I just think that the disruption will continue. However, it's like, to that same point, it's like, you got to keep contained too. Like, I was losing my mind in the stands when, we get good pressure and then he sneaks out for run. And
especially because the quarterback moves like the Statue of freaking Liberty last week. You literally let the slowest player in the state of Indiana at the time get the edge and run. It looked like he was running in slow motion. We had nobody out there. We've been bad on the perimeter this year. We've gotten our asses beat on the perimeter. We lose the perimeter. And Al Golden talks about it all the time, and then we lose it.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably something that was probably a pretty big focus, even on their Sunday practice where they kind of do their cleanup, so to say. That would be one of my guesses. That was one of their big emphasis, and I think that's something that's a relatively fixable type of issue, So I really do think we win this game. I agree with the previous caller. I think this is going to be a statement game. I think that, like I said, it's historically we have played well there. I do believe North Carolina is a very good coach, is very well coached. Now, it takes a really nice person to Mac Brown to be friends with Brian Kelly, so there's that. And then, but at the same time, it's like what you said about, I think that Drew Pyne will be more comfortable playing on the road against North Carolina than he was at home. I completely agree with that.
But listen, man, you were on campus last week, as was I. And I know you were there, and I was there, and I know what we were feeling. And it was weird, man. Like, tailgating, everybody wants to have a good time, blah, blah, blah. But there was this underlying anxiety of being afraid of what we were going to see. And I feel like that feeling permeated everything, and the team can feel it. But at the same time, that's what the situation is. So I don't feel bad that when I got into town, I was going, I'm excited to tailgate and see a bunch of people, but I'm nervous as hell is what we're going to see. I feel like that vibe carries over, and I felt it with the team. That pressure.
Right.
I don't know.
It felt like when you go to a funeral and then you're trying to catch up with people, but it's still kind of awkward and quiet and, kind of like that. No, I definitely felt that too. But I think we kicked that out. Honestly, I really do. I think that,
Yeah.
I think that
But like,
it's going to be a lot.
yeah, I like going on the road, and I normally wouldn't say that in college football, but I think Notre Dame's in a very unique, weird position, and being able to go where there isn't a bunch of people like me and you, where it doesn't go good the first couple series, and you can hear the groans in the stadium, like the collective. Ugh. Like I felt like you can feel that stuff. It's an energy, and that energy has real life. And you could feel like 80,000 people all go, here we go again at the same time all day. Like I'm happy for them. Pyne, get out on the road, get away from all these lunatic Notre Dame people like me, and clear your mind. Go with your boys to Carolina, run the ball, make the passes you need to, play good defense, win the damn game, get in winning streak. Go into the break, get even better, go to Vegas, win that one, and maybe we salvage this damn thing after all this year.
Yeah, I agree. And like I was saying, if I had to pick one road venue, I would probably pick UNC in Chapel Hill. It's not an overly difficult place to play at for visitors.
Yeah, and it is an afternoon game. It's not like it's a night game where everybody's drinking all day. It's a day game. So that also helps calm down kind of how raucous it is. Yeah.
Cool, man. I appreciate you taking my call. I'll call again soon, man.
Call again soon. You're a really good caller, and I appreciate you a lot. So give me a call again. Put it in your caller ID, Always Irish Radio. Save it. Call me anytime you want.
Will do, man.
Beautiful. Have a good one. Say hi to your family, too.
Yep. I will. Yep.
Take care.
Bye.
That's Quinn. I had a chance to meet him at Notre Dame a couple times. His family's there. Dad, lovely people. Lovely, lovely people. All right. 832's coming up next. 760 after that. I have a couple super chats to get to. Then we're going back to the phones. What do we have? Ooh. All right. We had to get into this. Tyler, thank you very much for the $4.99 super chat. Anyone mention rumors Styles wants to transfer to Ohio State to play with his brother? I have heard that. I've seen it on social media. I have inquired to my people that tend to be in the circle that know this kind of stuff, and that were right about the Dante Moore dynamic and what was going on there, and let me know when that started to be a red flag and trend away from us and why. So there's people I trust. I reached out to them and I said, is there anything to this, or is this just Ohio State wanting to start this because it's how they are? I have not gotten an answer yet. I've seen this out there, but I have no way to verify it. I don't. And if my people get back to me and say, I haven't heard that, then I believe them. It's probably not real. And if they say there is a little something there, that's a different issue. But I have seen that and I have asked about it, but I don't have an answer yet for you. I'm going to get back to a couple of these chats that I starred. Jerry Wilson, I'm telling you, I want to give Jerry a hard time, but he nailed the Marshall pick, and I gave him a bunch of hell that week for picking Marshall to beat us. I thought he was just trolling. They ended up winning the game. So whether it's trolling or not, if you're right, you're right. Here's another one from Jerry. A Shart leaves a streak as well. I'm assuming this is when I said 2 wins or a streak. Yeah, they certainly do leave a streak. That's for sure, Jerry. Oh, my gosh. 832, talking to you. You're on the air.
Yeah. What's up, John?
What's going on, man? What are you feeling this week? What's on your mind?
I'm actually feeling good. Like the other caller said, Chapel Hill. We've been doing pretty good out there recently, and I think it's going to continue. I think UNC has a pretty horrible defense, so I can see us winning 14-6. I can see us scoring 2 touchdowns.
I just think you're going to need more points than that this week. I do. I just think you're going to have to. I don't know if they run like an Ohio State type thing where they try and run the ball and do it that way. I don't know. But I see them being.
I'll just mess with you, John.
Yeah, I was going to say it's got to be a much higher scoring game than that, right? Like it's got to be.
Yeah. UNC can definitely score. So we're going to have to put up, I think, 30 points at least.
Yeah, that's kind of my ballpark. Dude, I do these picks for the USA Today online. I've been asked to do picks this year for every Notre Dame game for the Notre Dame wing of USA Today online. And I'm sitting here this week going, you got to be up in the 30s. You have to, right? 35, 38, somewhere in there. I just think you're going to have to score this week.
Yeah, they're definitely going to have to. And like the last caller was saying about the linebackers, I would not be opposed to playing Junior, Prince Collie, and Jalen Sneed. I don't think they can do any worse.
Here we are again, where we're in a position. God, I'm glad you brought this up. It's tricky because you'll look at a situation and say, I am not feeling like I'm seeing the production that I need and want out of this area. Maybe we should go to another guy and give them a try. And then they don't want to play that guy because the backup hasn't proven as much in practice or been as reliable as the starter. So they don't want to have that guy play because he's worse than the frontline guy. But if the frontline guy's causing you to lose football games, then where do you go? Then you're all messed up. When it's like the starter's not giving you winning reps and the backup's worse, well, then you're all messed up. Then you're all messed up. Recruiting's messed up. Development's messed up. Evaluation's messed up if that's your dynamic, right? Right?
Exactly. And another problem, 2 of the 3 are true freshmen, and we know how they are with true freshmen. I thought that would be with Kelly, but no. Like, you see Tobias Merriweather, he's getting no playing time.
I think he was out there. I saw a picture on Twitter. I don't think he got a ball, but I think he got on the field for a snap, and people were putting it on Twitter like it was a big deal just that he was standing out there. I do think he was out there a couple plays. But
he was out there for 2 run plays in a row.
Yeah, and so, okay, he was out there a little bit, but I wanted to see that big body down the field, man. Give him a try. You might be pleasantly surprised.
I mean, you got to do something. All your other receivers aren't doing anything. So,
and the issue is they're not going to be able to live off that short passing game they did last week. You can't do that every week. You have to expand this route tree. How? Like, who doesn't and how is my question.
Yeah, I think they averaged more yards rushing per play than passing per play last week, which is ridiculous.
Dude, I'm not kidding. I think Pyne's average pass throwing was like 2.5 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. I'm not kidding. But like, you had to do that to try and do whatever you could to win that game and put out the Flames. But now I need you to expand off that. Show some growth, show some development, show some comfort and confidence in what you're doing, and expand a little bit. You need to.
Yeah, that's another thing. You saw Pyne, he was throwing. He couldn't throw a 2-yard pass to Mayer accurately. We saw the same thing with Wimbush, Jerkovic.
Yep.
Every quarterback we've had, they regress. Like Tyler Buckner, if you watch his high school highlights, he slings the ball, and he has a lot of zip on it. When you watch him this year, he was like lobbing the ball every time.
Hey, listen to me. I don't want to get into this because I'll have an aneurysm on the air and I won't even get to the game. Do you know how many people told me Tyler Buckner got into Notre Dame and Kelly started messing with his motion and he's never been the same and never comfortable since? Do you know how many people had told me Buckner came in there winging it all over, and Kelly messed with his arm, and he's never been the same, and he doesn't have confidence, and it's not his natural motion. And I was told that happened. You don't have to believe it, but if you notice a difference, maybe that's why.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
So I don't know, man. But now,
I gotta go. But it was nice talking to you.
You too, man. Thanks for the call. Glad I got you in. Call again. Save the number. Call again, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Have a good Wednesday. You take care now. I think he's in Texas. Enjoy the early fall Texas weather there. Is it still steaming hot in Texas this time of year? I don't know. John, devil's advocate. Is Freeman not playing the young talent to redshirt them and reload? I don't know. But here's the risk with that. There's a balance. When you start looking at it that way, there's a balance. It's 100 degrees in Dallas. Woo! That is steamy. There's a balance because I understand if you wanted to save a guy for later on, I get that. But you also have to balance that out with, you have to find a way to win games. Because what good is saving your talent for down the road, but you're not winning any games now, and then your recruiting's going to suffer because of that, and then down the road you're not in a good position anyways. That's the issue. There is no such thing as tanking in college football. It doesn't help you. It hurts you. That's the problem. You don't tank and then you get the number one recruit because you're the worst team. It's the other way. The winners get the best players and then it breeds them winning more. It's the exact opposite. So that's kind of tough. That's a good point, Quinn. If you prepare too much for the future, you ain't going to be around to see it. 760, you're my hero. Are you with me?
Hey, John. This is Dwayne.
What's going on, Dwayne? Thanks for giving me a call. What are you in California? 760, is that where that is?
It's a San Diego number, but I'm living in South Carolina.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Well, what's on your mind, man? Thanks for giving me a call.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of like all the other callers. I mean, I see where they're coming from, but I mean, after seeing these last three games, I mean, you can't feel that confident going into North Carolina. With the offense the way it is. And I know people have been bashing the defense, but when you're going 3 and out every time, I don't care what kind of defense it is, it's just not going to work going into the later quarters.
Yep. You're going to get worn down, and that's just human nature and how this game is. And it's been that way for all of time, and it's never going to change.
Absolutely. And I mean, and my big gripe, I mean, I like Tommy Rees, but unfortunately, I think he's the problem. I mean, you look at even this year with the new wide receiver coach, Stuckey's great, but I mean, we turned down Joseph, I believe that's his name, from Purdue that went to Washington. That dude had a fiery personality, and I think Tommy didn't want that because he didn't want anyone to question him. Just like getting a quarterback coach, he didn't want that, and I just think that's why we're in a position we are.
Now let me ask you this.
It's just not good.
Let me ask you this. How much do you think Tommy Rees was involved in that decision on the quarterback coach? Or was that more of Freeman's comfort with that hire? That I genuinely don't have the answer to, of how much involvement Rees had in that preference or not compared to Freeman. Obviously, Freeman has the ultimate decision. I don't know how much of that was involved or not. So you made me think of that. Because I
totally agree. I mean, we both don't know. And I know even when BK was there, the question was getting a quarterback coach, and Tommy didn't want that. He wanted to run his quarterbacks. He wanted to run the offense. And, I mean, you look at our stable, I mean, we got in late with Drew Allar that had major interest with Notre Dame, and by the time we got involved, he committed to Penn State like 2 weeks later. And Steve Angeli's good and all, but he's not, a 5-star quarterback.
Right. Yeah.
I just feel like we missed out on it, and that's all on Tommy.
What do you feel? how do you do you feel, who do you put the blame on for the lack of linear development in Notre Dame's quarterback room recently? Is it just Kelly? Is it Kelly Reese? Is it Notre Dame operationally? Like, where do you put the blame that we don't see that linear development you see other quarterbacks at other places? Why is that happening?
I think it's both. I think you're right. I think it's both to a certain degree because, I mean, BK was, Tommy's guy from the get-go. And I think they both have that same mentality. And, I mean, as of right now, you can't blame Kelly now. Tommy had his – and like you said, Pyne and Buckner are Tommy's guys. Those were his go-to guys.
Yep.
And
those were his hand-picked guys he wanted. Those were the hand-picked 2 guys he wanted, and he got.
Right. So, I mean, in the end, you have to put that on Reese because those are your guys. Those are the guys you went to Kelly and said, hey, these are the guys. These are going to be our studs. And they're not. So you have to blame Reese on that.
Yeah. And so, listen, man, I've had people and family members even tell me that I don't want to be a jerk to Reese, but I can't help but notice the biggest lasting remaining part of Kelly is causing the most Kelly-ish stuff to happen. Like, I have people tell me that, and they're like, I don't know what to tell you, but this Reese quarterback thing rubs me really Brian Kelly-ish, and we don't like that because it's not good enough.
No, it's definitely not. It's definitely not. And that's what's hurting us. I mean, and that's what's going to hurt us in this game. I mean, if we start off slow like we have been, it's over. I mean, there's literally no way we can come back. Drew Pyne is not that quarterback to just go on a tear.
No, you're not going to get that.
We're not going to win.
Yeah, you got to get ahead, run the ball, control the clock, get ahead, and then dink and dunk, and then run it out, and then it's ugly, but we win. That's the recipe, right? It's kind of what I'm envisioning.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the recipe. Like, stressful, ugly, not pretty. You got to kind of get ahead, make a couple plays. It ain't beautiful, but you win it, and then we're not miserable going to the bye. Is that the playbook? Do I got it?
Yep. No, I agree. And something you brought up too with Tommy and the quarterbacks and recruiting and everything. You have to blame because you look at Freeman came in and he dominated the defense on recruiting. He just like, I don't care if you're a 5-star and think you can't get in Notre Dame. You're going to come in. I'm going to get you. And just Tommy just didn't have that mentality. Same thing as Kelly. And unfortunately, that's where we're at. So hopefully it works out. I mean, I think we all hope for the best, but that's all I got, John.
Beautiful. Really good thoughts. Thanks for the call. Give me a call again after the game. Let's see if this lines up with what we're thinking.
You taking my call, John.
No problem. Call again. Enjoy the game.
Yes, sir. All right. Bye-bye.
Take care. Man, the people who call me are nice. You guys notice that? These people are nice, these people that call. I got good people that watch this show. Everybody's nice. Jeez. All right. Joe Long says, this is another really good point. Very good point. Joe Long says, Freeman's putting too much trust in Reese. Here's the issue, though, folks. Think about the dynamic. I'm glad you brought this up. It's a bullet point. I want to mention it. Here's the deal, though. Marcus Freeman is a defensive guy. He was a defensive player and a defensive coach. So Marcus has that background. And then he has Al Golden to kind of lean on as the old head on the offense or on the defense. But on offense, it's just like, oh, Tommy, you're my boy. The offense is yours. Harry does the offensive line stuff, but he isn't that engaging old head. Let me go to you with my offensive problems, and we talk about how it feels. That ain't Harry the way Marcus could go to Al Golden with some defensive issues. That's an issue. That's an issue. It seemed to me that this offense, the keys were fully handed over to Reese. And then we went into the year trying to run an offense that we couldn't run it. We couldn't run it. That offense was built for what Reese wanted it to be, not what our players were. And that's a problem. And it's also a misevaluation of who yourself is in camp. To be that off on how you need to set this offense up to make it work, that's a big red flag to me. They totally misidentified what they were capable of doing in the skill set. They did. And that's on Reese. So, man. Quinn asks, what's your go-to drink for watching the Irish? You guys aren't going to believe this, but the more I'm getting into this media side of this, the less drinking I'm able to do during games. Like watching at home, it's really not that possible anymore, guys. You're live tweeting. I have the gambling app stuff I'm trying to do at the same time. I'm trying to watch the game and react as a fan. And I have a notepad with notes and bullet points for the show, for the review, or things I want to highlight. With all that going on, there's not much time to drink or relax. So over the years, the more this show's grown, during games isn't like fun time for me. I have too much going on that's too important. So that's kind of gone down. Usually a beer guy. If I'm in a mood for Jameson or something like that, we could do that for a special event. Let's just leave it at that. Jerry, that's like leaning on a rock that's about to fall off a cliff. Well, I might drive off a cliff if you lose to North Carolina and can't move the ball. They're giving up 900 points a week and 7,000 yards. Over the years, the more his hair recedes. Years? I'm talking about hours the way this season's going. Are you kidding me? Years? I'm going to look like Dr. Phil in November if this keeps up. They're saying Swarbrick has to go. Whether you love him or hate him, he's about to retire soon anyways. So I think you're going to get your wish. Swarbrick's about on the way out, ain't he? We need you to go full Harry Carey, roll into a post-game show. Totally tanked. Bad idea, folks. Bad idea. Lawrence, you know that. I'm trying to grow this business and this brand. No one wants me getting lit up and then turning on live after we lose a game. It'd be bad for all of us, and it'd probably ruin the show forever. 618. I'm sure your ideas are great. You're on the air.
Hey, John, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing very well. What's on your mind, my friend?
I know it was widely publicized because they caught it on camera. And I played football, I played baseball, I played sports my whole life. I know how coaching can be. I know how you get frustrated. But does part of you think that Tommy lit into Pyne because he can see the writing on the wall? If this offense does not turn around and it does not get going, he's out.
Very good question. I think what you saw there in that exchange was two things. One is, I do think Reese knows Pyne and he understands their relationship enough that he knew if he coached him in that way, he could get more out of Pyne, not make it worse, and have him freak out more and shut it down more and be even more tight. So I do have to say, maybe Reese knew he could address Pyne that way and coach him that way. And not everybody you can. And Tommy did say yesterday when he was asked about it, I know my guy and I know I could ride him that hard and he wouldn't lose it. That's one part of it. But the big part is, man, Tommy is so annoyed that all this isn't further down the road to where we want it, just like we are. He lost it. Just call it what it is. Tommy's frustrated as hell too. We had a horrible first few series and he lost it. Just like all of us, he hit a point where it just came out and he had seen enough. But also he knows he could push Pyne that way. So I think those were the two dynamics. Knew he could push him and just got frustrated where it came out.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it. Like,
what's your read on it? What's your read? What do you think?
I agree with you. Like, as a player, the coaches know the kids so well. You spend almost every minute of every day with them all summer. You know when you can push somebody and when you can't. And if he needs to rip him a new one to light a fire under him, great. But I want to see that continue this week. If you need to rip into him to light a fire under him, then air it out. Let him go out there, first play, just like the Ohio State game. I know it was a screen pass, but take a shot downfield, open the offense up, let Tobias get in there and play, and score 35 to 40 points on these guys. Because for the people that have watched North Carolina football, they can't stop anybody.
Yep. And what a great opportunity for you to be able to build some confidence, win a second game, get Pyne in the offense some confidence, and then you roll into a bye week where you're able to kind of take a breather and build on the things that you are doing okay. Like you're building a bridge to respectability here. If you could find a way to win a couple in a row, hit the bye, and then play good in Vegas, you might be able to salvage the season. I just can't honestly say I'm confident that I know that's going to happen. It's wait and see every week. Not even every week, every quarter. It's wait and see what you're going to get now.
Yeah, exactly. It's waiting almost every drive. What are we going to do this drive? Are we going to hand it to estimate 3 times, get 5 yards and punt, or are we going to take a shot like you said earlier with the caller?
Now, let me ask this too. Let me ask you this. They did make an obvious and clear attempt to get Tyree way more involved. He had 17 runs. He had 5 receptions, including a beautiful pass over the middle for a score. Are you feeling a little better with the way that they're starting to use some of the weapons we do have?
Yes, much better. Tyree is such an explosive athlete, just like Logan Diggs when he returns and, gets full playing time. Like, we should use all 3 of them. I know you've talked about the 4th and 9 on the Bush push game, but the reason USC was so hard to beat is because they had Reggie Bush and then Wendell White coming behind him.
Yep.
There's no reason we can't have Tyree and Estime be that same kind of 2-back system.
Yep. And they both have, what I like about using those 2 together is they have different skill sets just because the way their bodies are built different. And I like having that diversification with the bowling ball, wrecking ball Estime, and then more the jitterbug and space Tyree. You got to lean on those guys. They're good. You can rely on them. They're bright spots on the offense. Build their roles. Get them the ball. Get them the ball. That's the best way to help Pyne right now.
Exactly. I mean, if you go back to the Ohio State game, what was the reason that their running back pounded us in the 4th quarter? Because they pounded us the first 3 quarters and we finally ran out of energy.
Yep. And that's
Why
just the way it goes.
That to other teams?
Yep. And
listen,
listen,
will for 3 quarters and pound them.
The offensive line still is not where I want it to be, but they did take a step forward last week. While I acknowledge it was against not great competition, improvement. So at least they got better from Marshall to Cal. Can you take the next big step this week? I'm on the edge of my seat to see.
Yeah, I mean, then that's what I want to see. I want to see progression, like you said. Build on it this week, go into your bye week, and come out of the bye week and go pound on BYU.
Yep, and that's that is your roadmap to being able to stabilize this thing. And if you don't get that, I'm going to be nervous about where this is going. But I think you're in a good position to do that. They give up a lot of points. Not a horribly tough place to play. Get on the road with your guys. Build Pyne some confidence. Run the ball. Play good defense. Get a couple takeaways. Big stops. Win the game. Go into the bye. Reevaluate your life. Come out better on the other side. Is that the plan? That's my recipe, baby.
I mean, that's my plan. You go in. You take care of business against North Carolina. You go on your bye. You get better. You take care of business against BYU, and then you have 3 weeks, Stanford, UNLV, and Syracuse to continue to get better before you play Clemson.
Yep. That's a really good roadmap. And given how the year started, that would be a really great comeback. So I hope that's what we see. But that has to be the roadmap that we're on. And it starts in North Carolina. Got to get that win. Thanks a lot for the call, my friend. Call again.
Thanks. Have a great day.
You too. Take care. Oh, folks, it's almost 11 o'clock. John's got errands to run. That's about going to do it. I'm going to tell you what we're going to do, though. This isn't all you're going to get today. We have the official pregame show coming out later tonight. I pre-recorded it yesterday, so we got the talk show this morning. And then later on this evening, I will post my official Notre Dame, North Carolina pregame episode. I'm going to have something special for you tomorrow as well. And then Friday, we're going to be back for the Friday Freak Out or Friday Fun Day. I didn't know what it was going to be, folks, but the way this season's going, every Friday is, I ask, is it going to be a Freak Out Friday or a Friday Fun Day? Because you never know what we're going to get come Saturday. You just never know, folks. So thank you to everybody for being here. Everybody in the chats, I appreciate it. The people who donate, you make this all possible. I say every week, the phone lines aren't free. Nothing's cheap. So it helps keep me going on the technology. Really appreciate it. And everybody make sure you stay tuned later tonight for that preview. Have a good one, everybody. Take care.